Hey everyone, Rachel Jensen here, broker owner of Luna Realty Belize. We are back with our In the Inbox series, and today we are on question number 19. Question number 19 is a great question, and Mike asked a question generally, and I reworded it a little bit to help make it more applicable to folks who are looking at real estate overseas. And I always have recommendations for what people need to know. I do have this great guide that you'll see afterwards here on the last slide that I highly recommend you review, and that will cover a lot of the information that you should know before you buy property or real estate here in Belize. But I really tried to synthesize three main points that I think are really important for people who are just starting to look at real estate here, or perhaps you've been looking for a while and you just want to know the right things to ask. And I know a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. So if you don't know to ask these things, if you don't know about the market here, it is different than it is in North America. It's different than it is in Mexico. It's different than it is in Costa Rica or Panama or other tropical destinations. And so these were three top things that I think are really important for people to understand, because it is a different place, right? It is a different country. They do things a little bit differently here, and just how things are operating is different. And so let's go through these top three items right here. And we're going to start obviously with number one, which it could take 2 days or 2 years for a property to sell. And the reason that I mention that is because I know I have clients who are always looking online to see the latest and greatest happening in the real estate market. Sometimes properties are on the market for a long time. Sometimes they're listed and then 2 days later they get swooped up. And I know it's like that everywhere in the world, but I think sometimes people just aren't expecting it. Sometimes people are expecting things to be on the market for a year or two because that's about the standard time. Typically, we see here condos that are on the market for anywhere from 6 months to about 18 months. And then we see single family homes are typically on the market for anywhere between 12 to 18 months. And so if you see something get posted, you do expect for there to be a little bit of time between there actually being an offer on it and it getting sold. But there are always great values out there. And this is also where working with a real estate agent will be able to, or working with a real estate agent will be great for you, because they'll be able to see what's great value, what they think is overpriced. And that leads me to that second point here in number one, which always make an offer. So work with your realtor to determine what would be a fair offer for the property. Sometimes I think that the prices are a little high. Sometimes I think they're a little low. It's like that, of course, everywhere in the world. But talk to your realtor to see what their opinion is on the pricing. And then if you see a property you like, make an offer, right? And don't be afraid for them to say no. Maybe it's a point of negotiation, but do be willing to make an offer. And if you're not really sure what to offer, talk to your real estate agent. That's what they're there for. They're there to guide you through this real estate market. Point number two is make sure you understand your expenses. I think a lot of times people come here to Belize and they have an idea of what expenses are in the States or their home country, but they have no idea what it's going to cost here. Here we're on a tropical island on Ambergris Caye, and air conditioning is just an absolute must in properties, especially if you have them in a rental. And you do need to get your AC serviced typically every 6 months. And the lifespan of an air conditioning unit, especially if it hasn't been maintained regularly, typically it's about 5 to 7 years, but I have seen air conditioners go in as little as 2 years if they're not maintained properly. And these are sometimes things that people don't factor into their expenses when they're looking at island real estate. So my recommendation there would be to work with your real estate agent, request a profit and loss statement with the expenses highlighted so that you can see what expenses they've had. Or if they don't have a P&L statement, I know if it's on the rental program, they don't tend to have that, or if it's just not information that they're comfortable giving out publicly, they won't have that. So I would just ask your realtor to help you with an estimated expenses. What have they seen here from being in the market? Are they homeowners themselves? Does your real estate agent understand what the expenses here are? And can they help translate that over to what it is that you're buying? Now, I wouldn't expect them to know the exact numbers, right? But you typically are able to get utility bills, especially if the property is already constructed. They typically know the cost of getting the AC service and all of that. So just put together your spreadsheet, because the worst thing that can happen is that you're surprised at an expense that comes along after your purchase. And finally, point number three there, and this is one of my favorite pieces of advice I got, is pack your patience. And so in Belize, the typical closing process is about 2 months long. And during that time, that's when an inspection is done. That's when a clear title search is done. And there's a lot of mailing of physical documents between the buyer and the seller and the closing agent. And there can be delays. And I know sometimes we really expect the closing date to be there on the exact date that's stated in the paperwork. I've seen out of my closings is probably True. I mean, we probably had about 95% of our closings either get pushed back or maybe even pushed forward a little bit, but they tend to get pushed back after the suspected closing date because of something that's happened in between. So pack your patience there. Understand things take time. I know I have a client who is looking to bring electricity to her property, and she's talking to the electric company, and it's taking time. Right? It's going to take her a month or two to get that proposal in from the electric company for that, how much it's going to cost. And then from thereafter, it'll take time for them to actually go and install it. So this was one piece of advice that I had. It's hard sometimes to take a step back and to slow down, especially when you are excited about your property. But if you do go in with that expectation, sometimes you'll be surprised about how smoothly things work out for you. So if you are new to the real estate industry here, this is the guide that I was mentioning before. Request the 12 must-know facts before you buy property in Belize. Obviously, the 3 tips that we just highlighted were just the beginning of what you really need to know, what you need to be prepared for. We'd love to get you more information. Educated buyers are the absolute best buyers. You always want to know what you're going into, especially when you are buying in a foreign country. All right, everyone. Again, my name is Rachel Jensen. You can email me there, info@lunarealtybelize.com, or give us a call or text. We are on WhatsApp, and we look forward to hearing from you and hopefully seeing you down here in Belize at some point. Bye, everyone. Thank you.